One of the most important movements during this time was the women's emancipation movement. This movement took place in the 1800s. Throughout history, women around the world have not retained the same level of respect, power, or rights as men. This movement successfully gave them more political, social, and economic power and established equal rights and legal protection. As such, women then held the ability to strive for goals such as a higher education, the right to vote, the right to hold public office, and even to serve in the military.
During this time, France was divided into three classes called the estates. Conflict was caused when there was uneven power distributed among the three classes. A riot broke out on July 14, 1789, where citizens broke into a French prison called the Bastille, stole gunpowder for weapons, and then attacked the king's guards. This is France's Independence Day, called Bastille Day. Eventually, the Declaration of the Rights of Man was written, which gave men rights. However, these rights did not apply to women.
The Meiji Restoration was a chain of events that led to drastic changes in Japan's political and social structure. This period spans from the late Edo period, or the late Tokugawa shogunate, to the beginning of the Meiji era. The goal of this revolution was to combine Western advances with the traditional Eastern values. As a result, however, the political power simply moved from the Tokugawa shogun to an oligarchy consisting of the leaders of the Meiji Restoration. The Restoration increased industrialization in Japan, which also modernized Japan and increased production and improved road and communication networks.
The revolutions and movements in America and Europe mainly influenced the independence movements in Latin American countries. Movements such as the Enlightenment and documents like the Declaration of Independence and the Declaration of the Rights of Man influenced revolution ideas. In Mexico, the people wanted independence from Spain because they were tired of having no representation and were tired of their peasant lifestyle. Brazil's independence movement was different from the other Latin American countries because they ended up with a constitutional monarchy. Venezuela's independence movement consisted of a revolutionary junta that was composed of Creoles, people of European descent born in Latin America, who were wealthy landowners. These wealthy landowners simply wanted to replace the powerful Spanish with themselves and expel the influence of the church. They also did not want to extend rights to the black or mixed race, which made up the majority, and therefore met a lot of resistance. The infamous leader of the Venezuelan independence movement was a man named Simón Bolívar.
The Boxer Rebellion, or the Boxer Uprising, was an anti-imperialism, anti-Christian, and anti-foreigner movement conducted by the Righteous Harmony Society, known as Boxers in English. The uprising took place in response to imperialist expansion and missionary evangelism. Local organizations that emerged were suppressed by the Manchu-led Qing dynasty of China. Later, the Qing dynasty tried to expel any type of Western influence from China. The slogan, "Support the Qing, destroy the foreign," was used to motivate Boxers in North China to attack mission compounds. There were several causes of this rebellion. First, a drought, then floods in the Shandong province forced farmers to seek refuge in the cities. Another cause was the Western control over land in China. By 1900, China was almost divided because different Western powers controlled a different area of the country. The British dominated trade with China, including the trading of opium. This trade later led to the Opium War. The major cause of this rebellion was the increasing number of Christian missionaries coming to China. These missionaries were exempt from many of the Chinese laws, which alienated the local people. Many Chinese feared that these missionaries were a part of the imperialist attempt to divide China and colonize the pieces. The first conflicts arose in the Shandong province, then spread northward in early 1900. Finally, the Boxer Protocol was written and ended the rebellion in 1901.
The Suez Canal was a man-made sea-level waterway built in Egypt connecting the Mediterranean Sea with the Red Sea. This canal basically linked Europe and Asia together, eliminating the need to sail around Africa, which also meant that trade routes between these continents was drastically shortened. The Suez Canal made Egypt a huge commercial and political power between Europe, Africa, and Asia.
Muhammad Ali is regarded as the founder of modern Egypt because of the dramatic reforms in the military, economic, and cultural spheres that he introduced. Under the leadership of Muhammad Ali, Egypt began to industrialize in the early 19th century. In order to lessen Egypt's dependence on British goods, Muhammad Ali levied high tariffs on imported goods. This angered the British and they forced him to discontinue his duties. After this, Muhammad brought in European advisors to build up industries. To fund the new industries, Egyptian peasants were required to grow cotton and wheat to export to industrialized nations.
Marxism was derived from the work of Karl Marx. The primary aspects of Marxism are the dialectical and materialistic concept of history, the critique of capitalism, and the advocacy of proletarian revolution. Karl Marx promotes socialism where workers own the factories and share profits. Communism eventually emerged from Marxism.
Social Darwinism is a derogatory term used to criticize the ideas concerning the exploitation of concepts in biology and social sciences to artificially create political change that reduces the fertility of certain individuals, races, and subcultures having certain undesired qualities. The term draws upon the common use of the term Darwinism, which is a social adaptation of the theory of natural selection as first advanced by Charles Darwin. The term first appeared in Europe in 1879 and was popularized in the United States in 1944, and has generally been used by critics rather than the advocates of what the term is supposed to represent.